I guess if I'm being honest, the signs were there long before she said it. Her name was Anna. We'd been together for 5 years, married for 3. I used to think we were that couple people envied. Steady, no drama, built on mutual respect. That's how I saw it, at least. She used to laugh at my dad jokes, steal my fries even though she swore she wasn't hungry, and fall asleep with her head on my chest while we watched the same reruns on Netflix over and over again. I thought we had that kind of love. The boring kind, the good kind, the kind you can count on. But I guess comfort only means something when both people find peace in it. Over the last year, things had shifted. Not all at once. That's the tricky part. You don't wake up one morning and think, yes, here is the day everything starts to crumble. It sneaks up on you. First, the conversations grow shorter. Then the laughter thins out. Eventually, you realize you can't remember the last time you felt like she actually saw you. Like really saw you. She started coming home late. Meetings, she'd say, or nights out with coworkers. And I believed her. Not because I was naive, but because I wanted to. There's a difference. I didn't want to be the guy who snooped through messages or questioned every text alert. That kind of guy lives in fear, and I'd promised myself I'd never be that man. But one night, we were sitting in the living room. She was on her phone, scrolling like she always did lately, and I asked her if she wanted to go away for the weekend. Just us. We hadn't done anything like that in months. I even pulled up some cabins I'd bookmarked, hoping to catch her interest. She didn't even look up when she said it. I just don't think that's a priority right now. Her voice was flat. Not cruel, not angry. Just tired. I laughed, mostly to hide the sting. What? Me or the cabin? She finally glanced at me, her phone still in her hand. You know what I mean. And just like that, something broke. Now, I'm not the type to shout or throw things. Never have been. I grew up in a house where fights were slammed doors and silence that stretched for days. I swore I'd never carry that into my own marriage. But that night, I sat there, staring at the woman I had built my whole life around, and I realized I wasn't even in her top 5 anymore. Maybe not even her top 10. I didn't say much after that. She went to bed before me, as she often did, and I stayed downstairs, listening to the refrigerator hum and the clock tick its quiet accusations. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. I kept thinking about all the things I'd let slide. Missed dates, short answers, cold shoulders, because I believed they were temporary. Just a phase. Just stress. Just life. But they weren't temporary. They were the new normal. And the worst part? I wasn't even angry at her. Not yet. I was angry at myself for not noticing sooner. I got up at dawn. The sky was still gray, the kind of early morning where everything feels suspended in fog. I packed a bag. Just a small one. Some clothes, my passport, a few essentials. I didn't make a dramatic scene. No loud music, no broken picture frames. Just quiet footsteps on creaky floorboards and the sound of a zipper closing. I left my wedding ring on the kitchen table, right next to the little ceramic bowl she used to keep her keys in. It felt symbolic, I guess, though I wasn't aiming for poetry. I didn't leave a note. What would I even say? You stopped choosing me, so I chose to go. Instead, I walked out the door like it was any other day. But it wasn't. It was the first day of my freedom, and the first day she'd have to live with the silence I'd been swallowing for months. I drove for hours, no destination, just movement. I ended up in this small town 3 states away, quieter, slower. I rented a cheap little Airbnb with peeling wallpaper and a coffee maker older than I am. But it was mine, and for the first time in a long time, I could breathe. That first night away, I slept like a rock. No buzzing phones, no cold space in the bed reminding me that the person next to me had already emotionally packed her bags. Over the next few days, I didn't check my phone. I turned off the notifications, ignored the calls, if there were any. I didn't really expect her to chase after me. And if she did, well, she was a little too late. I started walking every morning. The town had this old trail behind a bakery that wound through some trees and ran along a shallow creek. I'd take my coffee and just walk. Sometimes I didn't even think. I just existed. And that, in itself, was a kind of healing. I wasn't running from her. Not really. I was running from the version of me that kept waiting to be loved back. And the weird thing is, once I left, I realized just how little of myself I'd been saving. I'd poured so much into the relationship, hoping that if I gave enough, she'd remember why she chose me. But love isn't a vending machine. You don't keep putting in coins hoping the right thing will fall out. Sometimes the machine's just broken, and you're better off walking away. One evening, I sat on the porch of that little rental and watched the sunset burn gold across the sky. I thought about the man I used to be before I met her. Hopeful, sure of himself, maybe even a little cocky in that boyish way. And then I thought about who I was now, quieter, maybe wiser, definitely more tired, but also freer. Funny how someone can take up so much space in your world until the moment you realize they never saw you standing there to begin with. I wasn't bitter. Still not. But I knew, deep down, if I went back, I'd be settling for the role of background noise. And I deserved more than that. We all do. A few weeks passed before I turned my phone back on. There were voicemails, 6, I think. Most were short. A couple just silence before hanging up. There was one where she actually spoke. Her voice cracked halfway through, like she was trying to stay composed, but couldn't quite pull it off. Hey, I don't know where you went. You didn't say anything. You just left. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that. Click. No, I'm sorry. No, I miss you. Not even a please come back. Just confusion. Like she was surprised that the man she'd been ignoring finally stopped showing up. I didn't call back. I didn't write. I didn't explain. I figured if she really needed to understand why I left, she could start by rewinding every dinner we ate in silence. Every conversation where her eyes were on her phone instead of me. Every, I'm tired, that really meant, I don't want to try anymore. People always talk about the moment love fades like it's some grand event. But in my case, it was a slow erosion. It faded like paint on a sunlit wall. So gradually, you only notice how dull it's gotten when you see a photo from the past. I spent my days in that small town walking, reading, writing some thoughts down in a notebook I picked up from a gas station. I wasn't trying to become a new man. I was just trying to remember the man I used to be. I met people, nothing deep, nothing romantic. Just the old lady who ran the flower shop and always slipped me an extra tulip because you look like someone who needs something alive around you. Or the kid who ran the coffee cart on weekends, who never once asked why I ordered the same thing every day and sat alone on the bench facing the mountains. For the first time in years, I wasn't somebody's husband. I wasn't a half of something failing. I was just me. And strangely, that didn't feel empty. It felt honest. After about 2 months, the messages stopped. No more calls. No texts. I guess she got the hint. Or maybe she didn't. Maybe she just got tired of reaching into a void. Either way, I didn't miss the silence. I welcomed it. One morning, I was having breakfast at this tiny diner. Pancakes, black coffee, classic greasy spoon kind of place. I looked up from my plate and saw a couple of few booths over, mid-30s, maybe, laughing over something on her phone. He leaned in, said something, and she kissed him on the cheek without even thinking about it. And it hit me. Not jealousy, not longing, just recognition. That used to be us. Before the distance. Before the cold. It made me realize that I hadn't stopped believing in love. I'd just stopped believing in love that has to beg for attention. I stayed in that town for 6 months. Worked odd jobs here and there, nothing fancy. Did some freelance graphic work from a borrowed laptop. Paid the bills, kept things simple. I told myself I'd figure out the next step when I was ready. Eventually, I was. I found a city a few hours north, not too big, not too small. Moved into a modest apartment with big windows and creaky floors. It smelled like pine and dust and possibility. I bought secondhand furniture, painted one of the walls a bold blue just because I could. My name was on the lease. My books were on the shelf. My clothes in the closet. No trace of her. No ghost of what had been. I got a dog, Buddy. Mutt with a crooked tail and a bark like a foghorn. He became my routine. Morning walks, evening fetch, the whole deal. He didn't care where I came from or what I'd walked away from. He just cared that I showed up. Every day, no questions asked. Sometimes, I'd wonder what she was doing. If she ever told people how her husband left without a word. If she painted herself as the victim. If she ever took a hard look in the mirror and asked what pushed me to disappear. But those thoughts didn't last long. Because even if she did reflect, it wasn't for me anymore. Her journey back to herself, whatever that looked like, was her own. I had my own road to walk. About a year after I left, I got a letter. Not an email. A real, handwritten letter. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting. It was short. I get it now. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. You kept showing up while I kept drifting away. I thought love could wait. I thought you always would. I was wrong. Anna. I read it once, folded it back up, put it in a drawer I never opened. Not because I'm angry, not even because it hurts, but because it was a ghost I'd already laid to rest, and I didn't need to resurrect it. People sometimes ask if I'd ever fall in love again. If I could open myself up after disappearing from someone's life and watching a marriage dissolve into silence. And the truth is, maybe. But I've learned something important in all this. You can't love someone into loving you back. You can't work yourself to the bone, bend your heart into a shape it was never meant to hold, and expect that to be enough. Love has to be mutual, alive. It needs room to breathe, not a pedestal to be placed on and forgotten. If I ever love again, and I hope I do, it'll be with someone who makes space for me, who sees me even on the quiet days, who makes me a priority not out of obligation, but because they want to. And I'll do the same for them. No halfway love, no lukewarm commitment. I disappeared from Anna's life not to punish her, but to find myself again. And in the quiet, in the walking away, I finally heard my own voice again. Sometimes the greatest act of love is choosing yourself when no one else will. So if you've ever found yourself in the same place, sitting across from someone who used to make your world feel small and safe, now making you feel invisible, just know this. You're allowed to walk away. You're allowed to be someone's everything, not their afterthought. And if disappearing is what it takes to finally be seen, so be it. That was my story. Still is, in some ways. But at least now, I'm the one writing it.